Cenk Uygur just released a video where he says that conservatives start to talk about lynching black people again. Now, in order to make his point, I mean, the guy has dislocated his shoulder with the reaching he had to do, Jake.
Hey guys, this is a story that, actually 2 stories that came out almost a week ago, but it's so shocking, and I hate that it's become normalized so that we don't even cover it that much, so I'm trying to fix that. But he did a town hall recently where he played some...
It was over a week ago, and it's so shocking I had to rush to do a cell phone video with a clickbait title.
Were not civil. One caller said, and you could hear it if you were in the town hall as he played it, hey, Al Green, we've got an impeachment for you. It's going to be yours. It's actually going to give you a short trial before we hang your nigger ass. So that is what one caller said to Al Green. Here's another caller. He said, well, no, we'll lynch all you fucking niggers. You'll be hanging from a tree.
Yeah, that's bad.
Of course.
Okay, it's not good that someone said that, but these are calls to a congressman, by the way, that happened over a week ago. So when he's like, there are plenty more examples, right? No, there probably aren't, because you're pulling this from a week ago. The next call was probably a prank call, play Misty for me. Okay, so he's pulling, he's like, oh, clearly Republicans, conservatives are calling for the lynches of blacks. One congressman received 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
Those phone calls probably came in, he was waiting for a week for more, didn't get them, and decided this was what he was going to run with. Let's condemn it. That's bad. Anyone who made those phone calls is probably a horrible person. But that doesn't mean that conservatives are calling for the lynching of black people. Now, in Cenk's defense, he does name one local representative in Mississippi. So let's show that so that we're not being misleading, because this is the strongest case he makes.
Politicians. So there's a Republican member of the Mississippi House of Representatives. His name is Carl Oliver. So here's what he wrote in a recent Facebook post out in the open. Again, this stuff is brazen. He said the destruction of these monuments erected in the loving memory of our family and fellow Southern Americans
That hasn't
is both
changed.
heinous and horrific. If the, and I use the term extremely loosely, quote, leadership of Louisiana wishes to, in a Naziist fashion, ironic, burn books or destroy historical monuments of our history, they should be, and this is capitalized, lynched.
I want to be really clear here, by the way. Go watch the entire video. I encourage you to watch it for context. He does nothing but talk about extreme examples of people who we openly condemn on a regular basis. That Mississippi representative seems like a horrible person. I don't know if they were calling for the literal lynching of black people. It seems like they were upset about the Confederate monument. But let's just say, either way, horrible choice of words, not someone that I would vote for, okay? Here's the thing. You had to reach so far over to some phone calls to a congressman and one local Republican representative to then paint an entire group of people, again, the conservative group of people. The video is conservatives starting to call for the lynching of black people.
So it is a trend worth noting. Doesn't mean that every Republican believes it. It certainly doesn't mean every Republican politician believes it. But there are some conservatives out there now openly talking about lynching black people. And so we should not normalize that. We should not accept it. We should call it out for what it is.
By the way, I'm going to present to you Exhibit C. Look how bad it's gotten, right? The YouTube comment section.
Has he ever seen the definition of trend?
Yeah, he says this is a noticeable trend. Okay, for it to be a noticeable trend, again, let's go back to there needs to be a graph, an x-axis, a y-axis. There needs to be some kind of causation for the correlation. Is there an increased number of racially based hate crimes being committed? He'll say yes, but that's actually not true. Is there an increased number of congressmen getting phone calls where people are calling for the lynching of black people? And are they on the record as Republican voters?
2 dots barely makes a line, much less a trend.
2 dots. Yeah. He brings up 2 phone calls and 1 local representative. Super, super fringe far right. Guy who will never be supported by Republicans, just like David Duke wasn't actively supported by a majority of Republicans once it came out that he was who he was, okay? There's no way that can occur. So he pulls out these fringe people, the only ones he could find, and he was scraping the bottom of the barrel to the point where he only found 2 and said, look, conservatives want to lynch black people. Whereas when it comes to the extreme policies of the left, and I've been talking about this, I don't need to reach far. I just need to pull out your stars. The stars of the DNC platform, the national stars. I just need to pull out the biggest liberal sites that could possibly exist and their front featured articles. That's what I pull out. I don't need to go and say, hey, Gabrielle Giffords, do you have some kind of phone call there from someone who's really incredibly violent, threatening to blow up a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic? Do you have anyone? No, I don't need to do that. I just go to their single top trafficked websites and most visible platform stars. Let's go right away to mainstream. The mayor of Portland just said that the First Amendment doesn't protect hate speech, that the First Amendment is not absolute. Bernie Sanders, you know Bernie, the Young Turks want him to run at the ripe old age of 95 for president. He said that a 90% tax rate isn't too much. He also said that bread lines aren't necessarily a bad thing. We're going to play a game here when we put Bernie Sanders quotes or Stalin's quotes, and you can't tell the difference. It's a fun game. Tom Perez, we talked about this last week. Tom Perez, representative, wouldn't answer, is freedom of speech absolute? Will you defend freedom of speech? He couldn't. He wouldn't answer. Just like you have other people in the national platform for the DNC who will not answer that the First Amendment is absolute. Let's go back to the BuzzFeed abortion video. You have Elizabeth Warren, and the mainstream platform of today's DNC is abortion on demand, taxpayer funded, period. They are fighting for legislation to allow abortions, terminations of lives to occur after 20 weeks, which according to their own presentations, as you just saw from BuzzFeed, is at a point where the baby has a beating heart and the ability to feel pain. This is Elizabeth Warren, it's Bernie Sanders, it's your Hillary Clintons, it's your Young Turks, it's your Huffington Posts. The people who we target and rebut on a regular basis are your A-listers. They are your all-stars. So stop trying to build up straw man by finding some local radio disc jockey's phone list and finding something that could be construed as offensive. Start bringing out some real arguments that you want to rebut, and then we can have a conversation. And you can find us and come on this show. But of course, we know that would be inconvenient, kind of like a pregnancy that occurs when you don't want it to. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe by clicking the button. It's a circular button now that says subscribe. If not, head on over to the Young Turks. That's probably more your speed. Although they're coming over here. Cenk, we know you're here watching. I can smell you from here. There's also a recommended video box playing right up there. You can join the Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub for daily content, so we're not dependent here on YouTube. Cenk, go. No. Go. You don't need to stay here. This isn't good for, it's bad for your soul.